125 men, women, and children murdered, not by the storm, not by the reef, not by the sharks circling the wreckage. They were butchered by their neighbors, by the pharmacist they trusted, by the soldier who shared their rations. On June 4, 1629, 341 people crashed into the Houtman Abrolhos archipelago off the coast of Australia, but the shipwreck was just the opening ceremony. What followed was a 3-month descent into absolute depravity that makes Lord of the Flies look like a nursery rhyme. We are looking at a body count that defies logic, born not from the elements, but from the mind of one psychopath who realized that on a deserted rock, laws are just fairy tales we tell ourselves to feel safe. The clock starts the second the keel of the Batavia rips open on the morning reef. It is pitch black. The screaming is deafening. 40 people drown immediately, sucked out into the Indian Ocean. The rest claw their way onto a tiny flat strip of coral known as Beacon Island. This is not a tropical paradise. It is a calcium graveyard. There is no vegetation. There is no shelter. Most importantly, there is no fresh water. The survivors are huddled together on a shelf of rock barely larger than a football field, shivering, wet, and terrified. This is where we enter the pressure chamber. Imagine a sealed steel tank. You put 300 people inside, you weld the door shut, then you turn up the heat and suck out the oxygen. The oxygen, in this case, is hope. The heat is the realization that they are thousands of miles from civilization. Commander Pelsart, the highest-ranking official, makes a decision that seals the doom of everyone left behind. He takes the only longboat and 48 of the best sailors to search for water. He never comes back. He keeps going, aiming for Java to get help, leaving over 250 civilians on the rock. The lid of the pressure chamber is screwed tight. The authority figure is gone. The water is running out. The panic sets in. In a normal society, panic leads to chaos. But on Beacon Island, panic was weaponized. It was harvested by a man named Jeronimus Cornelisz. Cornelisz was the undermerchant, a failed pharmacist, a heretic, a man with a silver tongue and a bankrupt soul. Before the crash, he was already plotting a mutiny to steal the ship and its gold. Now the ship is gone, but the gold is still there, scattered in the surf. Cornelisz looks at the shivering survivors, and he doesn't see people to save. He sees liabilities. He knows that if Pelsart returns with a rescue ship, he will be hanged for his pre-crash mutiny plot. His only option is to seize the rescue ship when it arrives, kill the rescuers, and become a pirate. But to do that, he needs an army, and he needs fewer mouths to feed. He needs to lower the population in the pressure chamber to sustainable levels. He starts slowly. He uses the water shortage as his primary lever. He takes control of the meager supplies. If you want a sip of urine and vinegar, you bow to Cornelisz. He identifies the strongest men, the soldiers who might oppose him, and he sends them away. He tells a group of soldiers led by a man named Weeby Hayes to go to a distant high island to search for water. It's a death sentence. Cornelisz believes the island is barren. He sends them there to die of thirst so he doesn't have to waste bullets. With the lions removed, the hyenas take over. Cornelisz assembles a council. It's a mockery of government. He recruits the violent, the weak-minded, and the sadistic. He feeds them extra rations. He gives them wine salvaged from the wreck. He promises them a kingdom. He creates a cult of personality built on a simple, terrifying doctrine. God does not care what happens on this rock. Sin is an invention. Survival is the only truth. He turns the island into a slaughterhouse, but he doesn't get his hands dirty. He sits in his tent, wearing the silks of the aristocracy, and whispers orders. The killing begins on July 9th. It starts with the useless eaters, the sick, the children. They are quietly strangled or pushed into the sea at night. But bloodlust is an addiction. Quiet elimination turns into sport. The mutineers begin to hunt. They walk through the camps with swords and clubs. A family is bludgeoned to death because they looked at a mutineer the wrong way. A cabin boy is decapitated to test the sharpness of a blade. The pressure chamber is now boiling. The psychological wall between human and animal has completely collapsed. Stop! Right here. July 1629. We need to understand the mechanism of control before we look at the massacre. Why didn't the 200 survivors rush the 30 mutineers? It's the bystander effect amplified by starvation. Cornelisz didn't kill everyone at once. He killed them in ones and twos. He created an atmosphere where everyone thought, if I keep my head down, if I obey, he won't pick me next. It is the ultimate lie of the totalitarian regime. By the time they realized they were all on the list, they were too weak to fight back. Cornelisz dismantled their collective identity. He separated the women, turning the most beautiful into sexual slaves for his top lieutenants, breaking the spirit of the men who might have defended them. He shattered the social contract until the only thing left was the will of Jeronimus. Resume the timeline. The body count is climbing. 50 dead, 80 dead, 100 dead. The island is reeking of decay. The mutineers are drunk on wine and power. They wear the expensive clothes of the dead, strutting around the coral like peacocks in a graveyard. Cornelisz believes he has won. He has thinned the herd. He has a loyal army of killers. He is ready to hijack the rescue ship. But there is a glitch in his plan, a puff of smoke on the horizon. Wibby Hayes, the soldier sent to die on the high island. He didn't die. He found water, fresh, clean rainwater pooling in the rocks. He and his men have been drinking, eating birds and wallabies. They are strong. They are healthy. And thanks to a few survivors who managed to escape Cornelisz's island on a raft, Hayes knows exactly what is happening across the water. He knows about the rape, the torture, the slaughter. The pressure chamber on Hayes's island didn't break them. It forged them. They organized. They disciplined themselves. They prepared for war. Cornelisz sees the smoke and realizes his mistake. If Hayes is alive, the mutiny fails. He has to kill the soldiers. He sends his men to attack. But Hayes is ready. The soldiers don't have guns, but they have the high ground and improvised pike weapons made from driftwood and hoop iron. They beat the mutineers back. Cornelisz tries again. He tries to bribe them. He tries to negotiate. He rows over to the high island to use his silver tongue, believing he can manipulate Hayes just like he manipulated the others. It is the fatal arrogance of the narcissist. Hayes isn't a starving civilian. He is a soldier who knows he is looking at the devil. When Cornelisz steps onto the shore to parley, Hayes's men spring the trap. They don't listen to his words. They tackle him. They capture the kingpin and kill his bodyguards. The cult is decapitated. The remaining mutineers on Beacon Island are leaderless, but they are still armed with muskets and they are cornered animals. On September 17th, the final act begins. A sail appears on the horizon. It is Commander Pelsart, returning in a rescue yacht, the Sardom. He expects to find survivors. He expects to find a tragedy, but a natural one. Instead, he sails into a war zone. It is a race. The remaining mutineers jump into a boat, rowing frantically toward the Sardom. Their plan is to board, kill the crew, and flee. But Weeby Hayes is faster. He and his men row out to meet Pelsart. They reach the ship first. Hayes screams up to the commander, "Mutiny! Murder! Do not let them board!" Pelsart sees the glitter of weapons in the approaching boat. He aims the ship's cannon. The mutineers surrender. The game is over. The pressure chamber is vented. Pelsart goes ashore to Beacon Island, and the reality of the last 3 months hits him like a physical blow. The mass graves, the traumatized women, the confessions that spill out. Cornelisz and his men are not taken back to civilization for trial. The risk is too high and the crimes are too heinous. Pelsart convenes a court on the coral. The investigation is brutal. The mutineers are tortured for details, but they give them up willingly, almost proud of their work. On October the 2nd, the gallows are built. The timeline ends where it began, on a desolate rock in the middle of nowhere. Jeronimus Cornelisz, the man who thought he was a god, is the first to go. But before the rope, they cut off both his hands. It is a sentence for those who broke the sacred trust of command. He screams, protesting his innocence to the very end, unable to comprehend that his logic has failed. One by one, the top mutineers follow him into the dark. The Batavia shipwreck wasn't just a maritime disaster. It was a psychological experiment with zero ethical boundaries. It showed us that civilization is a thin coat of paint, and if you scratch it, if you add enough pressure, enough heat, and take away the water, the monster underneath wakes up very quickly. So I have to ask you, if you were on that island, starving, terrified, and a man offered you food in exchange for your silence, would you have been Weeby Hayes or would you have joined the cult? Let me know in the comments.